Well, we can get more on this with Vehbi Baysan, who is a professor of history at Istanbul's Ibn Haldun University, joining me here in the studio. Many thanks for speaking to us, Vehbi. Let's focus on the organization FETÖ. Give us a bit more background into how extensively the group infiltrated the Turkish state.
Very intense. I mean, basically, it seems that their efforts very much focused on taking advantage of people's religious feelings and infiltrating in almost all sectors of Turkish society, starting from the state administration, the police, the intelligence services, the army, military intelligence, you name it, the medical, in the medical schools, to you name it, universities, etc. So it was actually a slow and well-planned operation where people thought actually they are purely serving Islam, and actually they didn't even mind letting their children to be kind of educated or helped by, especially talking about the kind of poor families. So, but it was apparently a big plan, and took them, if we consider from 1990s, around like 20 years or more, to kind of step by step get into their target closer. And we know that also early in mid-2007 and 2008, there was a lot of arrests from the army, generals, etc., and they were behind it. This was just to open way for their men to rise on high ranks to actually, eventually what we saw in 2016 was the military coup attempt.
Why do you think they picked FETÖ, the group FETÖ, picked that particular moment to launch the coup? Because as you say, many thousands of the FETÖ members have been sacked in the years previously. Were they not weak or weaker at that particular moment?
Oh, no, actually, the first really a serious, what do you call it, some of the clashes in a kind of quote unquote came in kind of 7-8 months earlier, December 2015, when they revealed a lot of illegal tappings of high-level state officials, including Erdogan himself. And thereafter, the state decided really like to take action against them. But actually, they were so much infiltrated in the system that it was not possible with the given time to effectively fight against them. So 15 July 2016, and thereafter what we witnessed gave enough time and opportunity to really take them out of the system.
Professor, one of the remarkable things about the coup night was how we saw ordinary people come out on the streets and face off in front of people with guns, in front of armed cars. And I want to ask you why these people, what it took for them to do it. Why did they do it? But before we do that, let's listen to some of their stories. So looking at that, a teacher, a housewife,
yes.
It seems incredible that people, ordinary people like that, came out on the streets to face off against the military. Why do you think these people came out when we haven't seen it in the past in other military coups?
Well, absolutely. We have several coups, isn't it? 1960, and then 1971, and 1980. Actually, thereafter 1996, we have like so-called postmodern military interference, when they asked democratically elected coalition government to step down, which they did. But in fact, enough was enough. To begin with, people didn't want to live under occupation of their army, who had one target: topple democratically elected government and the president and establish their own rule. But the difference is that actually media helped a lot, and people were aware of the coup attempt much earlier, because in the other ones, I remember 1980s, when we waked up, all the streets were already taken, and tanks all around Istanbul. We didn't know what's happening. That time we had only one radio, perhaps one television, actual sources of information limited. But this time, no, it was totally different, and people were determined, and people very effectively and quickly communicated with each other, and they rushed where the help most needed. So that helped a lot. But actually, one thing we witnessed there is the solidarity. It didn't matter what sector of the population, Turkish population they belonged to. They rushed, they went out just to stop that. And they couldn't actually bear the fact that their own military fighter jets were opening fire on them. Their own military tanks were kind of targeting them. And actually, many people got killed like that. As the first pictures were showing, over the Bosphorus Bridge, actually hundreds of people were literally standing in front of the machine guns with their bare hands. They had one thing in hand: they did not want to live under that occupation. If that military coup succeeded, we would need probably 100, 150 years to get rid of them. That was very, very dangerous.
It is indeed a day many of us will never forget. Vehbi Baysan, Professor of History at Istanbul's Ibn Haldun University, many thanks for speaking to us here on TRT World.